There's a moment most people never notice, but it changes everything. It's not after weeks of talking. It's not after deep conversations or long dates. It happens almost instantly. In the first few seconds of meeting you, a man begins to form a feeling he can't quite explain, and that feeling quietly answers a powerful question in his mind. Is she someone I can see in my life? Long term. Now here's where it gets interesting. It's not about being the most beautiful woman in the room. It's not about saying the perfect thing or trying to impress him. In fact, the more you try to win him over, the more that natural connection slips away. Because what he's really responding to isn't your effort. It's your energy. Think about it. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt comfortable? Like you could just be yourself? That's the feeling that sticks. That's the feeling that makes someone want to stay longer, talk more, and come back again. And in those first 90 seconds, that's exactly what he's searching for, even if he doesn't realize it. The truth is, men don't fall for perfection. They don't sit there judging every little detail about you. What they feel is much simpler, much more human. They notice how you carry yourself, how you respond, how you make them feel in your presence. So if you've ever wondered why some women leave a lasting impression without even trying, while others feel invisible despite doing everything right, you're about to understand why. What really decides everything in those first moments isn't your words, it's the feeling you create. Most people think attraction starts with what you say, the jokes you make, or how interesting you sound. But in reality, before your words even land, he's already picking up on something deeper. Your tone, your pace, your body language, your presence, all of it speaks louder than anything you could carefully plan. And this is where many women unknowingly lose their power because they focus too much on performing instead of simply being. When you're trying too hard to impress, it creates a kind of pressure in the air. You might speak a little faster, laugh a little louder than you normally would, or fill every small silence because you're afraid of things getting awkward. And while it feels like you're doing the right thing, what he actually feels is tension. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because it doesn't feel natural. It feels like effort. Now compare that to a woman who is simply present. She listens fully. She doesn't rush to respond. She lets moments breathe instead of trying to control them. Her smile comes naturally, not as a tool, but as a reflection of how she feels. There's a calmness about her, and that calmness does something powerful. It relaxes him. It makes him feel like he doesn't have to perform either. And in that shared ease, connection starts to grow without force. This is something most people overlook. A man isn't sitting there judging you the way you might think. He's not ticking boxes or analyzing every sentence. He's asking himself, often without realizing it, how do I feel around her? Do I feel comfortable? Do I feel at ease? Do I feel drawn in? Or do I feel like I have to try harder? And the answer to that question shapes everything that comes next. There's also something quietly attractive about emotional presence. When you're not distracted, not constantly checking your phone, not looking around the room for validation, it shows him that you value the moment. That kind of attention is rare, and rarity creates value. It makes him feel seen, even if you're not saying anything extraordinary. And here's the deeper truth. When you stop trying to impress, you become more impressive, because authenticity has a different energy. It's lighter, it's warmer, it doesn't need approval, and people are naturally drawn to that because it feels real. So instead of asking, what should I say to make him like me? A better question is, what kind of feeling am I creating right now? Because long after he forgets the exact words you used, he will remember how you made him feel. And that feeling, more than anything else, is what makes him want to see you again. What most people misunderstand about mystery is that it's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about not rushing to give everything away all at once. In the beginning, there's a natural curiosity between two people. It's light, it's exciting, it pulls you in. But the moment you start over-explaining, oversharing, or trying to show your entire personality in one sitting, that curiosity fades faster than you think. Not because you did something wrong, but because there's nothing left for him to discover. A lot of women feel this quiet pressure to be fully open right away. To tell their whole story, explain their intentions, share every detail so there are no misunderstandings. And while honesty is important, timing matters even more. When everything is revealed too quickly, it removes the natural rhythm of connection. It's like reading the last page of a book before you've even started. The journey loses its spark. Mystery, in a healthy way, is about pacing. It's about allowing the conversation to unfold layer by layer. You answer, but you don't over-answer. You share, but you don't pour everything out at once. You let him ask questions. You let him lean in. And that leaning in, that effort to understand you, is what builds attraction. Because people value what they invest in, there's also something very attractive about a woman who doesn't feel the need to explain herself constantly. When you're comfortable leaving a little space, it shows emotional security. It shows that you're not trying to control how he sees you, and that kind of quiet confidence creates intrigue. He starts wondering about you, thinking about you, wanting to know more, not because you told him to, but because you gave him the room to feel it on his own. And here's where it becomes powerful. When you don't rush to fill every silence or answer every unasked question, the energy shifts. Instead of you trying to keep the conversation alive, he begins to participate more. He asks more. He engages more. And slowly, without even realizing it, he becomes more invested. This isn't about being distant or cold. It's actually the opposite. You're warm, you're engaged, but you're not overwhelming the moment. You respect the natural pace of connection. You allow things to breathe, and in that space, attraction grows in a way that feels effortless instead of forced, because at the end of the day, people don't get attached to what they fully understand in one moment. They get attached to what they're still discovering. And when you let him discover you gradually, instead of handing him everything at once, you create a connection that feels deeper, more exciting, and much more real. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people think it means being the loudest in the room, having the perfect lines ready, or constantly trying to stand out. But real confidence doesn't need that kind of attention. It's much quieter. It's in the way you carry yourself when you're not trying to prove anything. And in those first 90 seconds, that quiet confidence speaks louder than any words ever could. When a woman is truly confident, you can feel it without her saying a single thing. She doesn't rush her words. She doesn't interrupt just to be heard. She's comfortable with pauses, with eye contact, with simply being present. There's no sense of urgency in her energy, no need to fill every second with noise, and that calm pace does something powerful. It slows everything down in the best way. It makes the moment feel real, not rushed or forced. Now compare that to someone who feels the need to constantly prove themselves. They might talk faster, try harder to be funny, or look for reactions after everything they say. And while it might seem engaging on the surface, underneath it creates a subtle pressure. It feels like they're seeking approval, even if they don't realize it. And approval-seeking energy, no matter how well hidden, weakens attraction because it shifts the balance. Instead of two people connecting, it becomes one person trying to win the other over. A confident woman doesn't try to be chosen. She knows she has value whether he sees it immediately or not. That mindset changes everything. It removes the need to impress. It removes the fear of silence. It removes the pressure to perform. And when all that pressure disappears, what's left is something very natural, something very real. There's also a strong sense of emotional control that comes with true confidence. You don't overreact if something doesn't go perfectly. You don't take things too personally in the first few moments. You stay grounded. And that grounded energy feels safe. It tells him that you're not easily shaken, that you're steady, that you're someone who brings calm instead of chaos. And here's the interesting part. Quiet confidence creates curiosity. When you're not trying to grab attention, people start giving it to you naturally. He starts noticing the little things, the way you listen, the way you respond, the way you carry yourself. And because it feels effortless, it feels more genuine. Attraction isn't built on who tries the hardest. It's built on who feels the most real. And confidence, in its truest form, is simply being comfortable enough to show up as you are, without trying to be more, and without feeling like you're not enough. Emotional control is one of those things that doesn't get talked about enough, but it quietly shapes how someone feels about you almost instantly. In those first moments, a man isn't just noticing how you look or what you say, he's noticing how you handle yourself, how you respond to small things, how steady you are, and whether your emotions feel balanced or unpredictable. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be cold or emotionless. That's not attractive either. What it really means is being in control of your reactions instead of letting every little moment control you. For example, if something slightly awkward happens, do you get flustered and try to fix it quickly? Or do you stay relaxed and let it pass naturally? That small difference says a lot, because when you stay calm, it signals that you're comfortable with yourself, and that comfort makes him feel more at ease too. A lot of people, without realizing it, react too quickly. They overshare when they feel nervous. They laugh a bit too much to cover silence. They explain themselves more than necessary because they don't want to be misunderstood. And while all of that is human, it can create a sense of instability in the interaction. It makes things feel rushed, slightly chaotic, like the moment is being forced instead of flowing. But when you have emotional steadiness, everything feels different. You respond instead of react. You take a second before speaking. You allow the moment to unfold without trying to control it. And that creates a sense of calm that is incredibly attractive. Because deep down, people are drawn to what feels stable, what feels safe, what feels grounded. Think about it this way. Attraction might start with excitement, but it grows with trust. And trust doesn't come from intensity alone. It comes from consistency. From knowing that the person in front of you isn't going to swing emotionally from one extreme to another. In those first 90 seconds, he may not fully understand it, but he can feel it. He can sense whether you bring peace into the moment or pressure. There's also strength in not taking things personally too quickly. If he says something unexpected or the conversation doesn't go perfectly, you don't let it shake your mood. You stay centered, and that shows emotional maturity. It shows that your feelings aren't fragile, that you don't need constant reassurance to feel okay. And here's the deeper truth. Emotional control isn't about hiding your feelings. It's about owning them. It's about expressing yourself in a way that feels balanced, not overwhelming. When you do that, you create an energy that feels safe, steady, and easy to be around. And in a world where so many interactions feel rushed and emotionally chaotic, that kind of calm presence stands out more than anything else. This is where everything comes together. Because the biggest mistake most women make is believing they have to create the connection. They feel like it's their job to keep the conversation alive, to carry the energy, to make sure he stays interested. So they lean forward too much. They ask all the questions, they fill every silence, they try to keep the spark going on their own, and without realizing it, they take away the very thing that makes attraction grow, his chance to step in. Connection doesn't grow when one person does all the work. It grows in the space between two people. It needs a little back and forth, a little give and take. And when you allow that space, something powerful happens. Instead of you chasing the moment, you give him the opportunity to meet you there. Allowing connection isn't about pulling away completely or acting uninterested. It's much more subtle than that. It's about leaning back just enough. You're still present, still warm, still engaged, but you're not trying to control the outcome. You're not trying to force chemistry. You're letting it reveal itself naturally. For example, instead of asking question after question just to avoid silence, you might pause and let him speak. Instead of immediately replying to everything with long explanations, you keep it simple and leave room for him to respond. These small shifts may seem minor, but they completely change the dynamic. Because now, he has space to invest. And this is important. People feel more connected to what they invest in. When he starts asking questions, when he starts trying to understand you, when he leans in emotionally, he's not just observing the connection anymore, he's becoming part of it. And that's when interest begins to deepen. There's also a quiet confidence in allowing things to unfold instead of forcing them. It shows that you trust the process, that you're not desperate for a certain outcome. And that energy is very attractive. because it removes pressure from the interaction. It makes everything feel lighter, more natural, more real. When you chase connection, it often feels rushed. When you allow it, it feels effortless. And people are naturally drawn to what feels easy, not boring, but easy in the sense that it flows without struggle. And here's the deeper truth: the right connection doesn't need to be forced. If there's something real there, it will grow when given the right space. And if there isn't, no amount of effort can create it. So instead of trying to make something happen, focus on creating the kind of presence that allows something to happen. Because when you do that, the connection doesn't just appear, it builds naturally, steadily, and in a way that actually lasts. So here's what all of this really comes down to. You don't need to become someone new to be chosen. You don't need perfect lines, perfect timing, or some strategy that makes you feel like you're performing. The truth is much simpler, and honestly, much more powerful than that. When you slow down, when you stay present, when you allow your natural energy to lead, you stop chasing attention and start creating connection without force, because the right man isn't looking for a performance. He's not searching for perfection. He's responding to a feeling of ease, of curiosity, of calm excitement when he's around you. And that feeling only shows up when you're not trying to control every moment. So the next time you meet someone, don't ask yourself, how do I make him like me? Instead, shift the question. Ask, am I being real right now? Am I allowing this moment to breathe? That small shift changes everything. It takes the pressure off you and invites the right kind of energy in. And if this made you see things a little differently, then don't just leave it here. Start noticing these moments in your own life. Pay attention to how people respond when you're relaxed versus when you're trying too hard. That awareness alone will change the way you connect. Stay with this journey, because the more you understand it, the less you'll need to chase, and the more naturally the right people will stay.